I am back in one of my favourite places on earth. I'm on the east coast of Tasmania. I'm in Avalon, which is a coastal retreat accommodation. And if I could spend all of my time here and do no work, then that's exactly what I would do. And I'd do things like this while I was hanging out here. I would cook. Beer and oysters is one of those classics that everyone likes to have a beer with an oyster. I'm going to put both of them together to create beer-battered oysters. It's a flavour that works really well. Most people will think of beer battering fish, and in particular flathead or flake. They handle that beer batter really well. I find oysters do the exact same thing. And if you're one of those people who don't like the texture of oysters, this is a good way to get around it. So I've got 6 or 7 oysters here, a little pot of oil to fry in, a beer. Now, depending on how much you like beer flavour, you can go for a strong, hoppy pale ale, or you could go for a crisper lager if you wanted to. I've gone for a pale ale. First thing I need to do is just dust my oysters in a little bit of flour. So I'm going to take them out of their shells, pop them into the flour. At the moment, the flour isn't seasoned, so this is just so the batter has something to stick to. Otherwise, when I make my batter, it'll just slide straight off the oysters. And that is that texture that some people don't like with oysters, that they're quite slimy. So pop my oysters in, give them a little dust in the flour, pop them on my board. Now you don't want them to be too coated in flour, otherwise you're going to end up with quite a thick and unpalatable batter. Just a slight dust. Then I'm going to season my flour with a little bit of, I just poked around in the cupboards here and found a little lemon flavoured salt. So I'm going to pop in a decent amount. This is it here. Oh, sorry, lemon pepper. I said salt. Decent amount of lemon pepper. And then I'm going to add a big pinch of salt in there as well. And now my beer. So add this a little at a time and then mix until I get the consistency that I'm after. Now, good batter has a few things. One in particular is that it's really cold before it goes into the hot oil. That helps create a nice light fluffy batter. So I've got some ice cubes. Again, just found whatever was in the fridge here and they're in the shape of love hearts, so that's nice. These are oysters after all, so love hearts kind of fits. So the consistency that you're after with your batter is probably thickened cream is the best way. You don't want it to be too thick because you'll end up with a really stodgy batter. You don't want it to be too thin, otherwise you won't even know that you've got batter on there. So that's the consistency that I'm pretty happy with. So now all you have to do, I'll turn my oil back on. I'm just going to dredge these in a little bit of the batter and then straight into the hot oil. Just do a test to see if my oil is hot enough. And in we go. Then you end up with these awesome, pillowy, crunchy oysters, which you can pop back into your shell to serve. And then just serve them with a little wedge of lemon. And for anyone who doesn't like the texture of oysters, this will fix that problem. Now, just because there is beer in the batter doesn't mean you can't have a beer with them.
G'day, Ben.
Hey Henry, how are you, man?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Whereabouts are you?
That's good. I'm just on my way to the ship end in Stanley.
Awesome. Well, I've organised your day for you, really. You're going to head off and meet Dion. And the two of you are going to head down to Hersey's Seafood. You can't miss it. It's a shed with a big crayfish on top. From there, we'll probably head you to Robins Island Wagyu and finish you up at Cape Grim Water with a guy named Mike.
Sounds good, Ben. I'm just pulling up now. G'day, Dion.
Hey Henry, how you going?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no worries. What brings you to Tassie?
Oh, it's just back here in town to see the family and obviously try some of the local produce that we have here. So really excited to be back.
Well, you're in the right place for it. Ben's charged me with creating the best surf and turf dish in the world. So
wow, that sounds amazing.
No pressure. I'm sure we can source the best produce. I can't vouch for my cooking ability, but we'll see what we can do. So to find the best produce, Ben's lined up some fantastic producers to get some seafood. We're going to a beef farm as well. And we've also got a guy who's going to tell us a little bit about why this produce is so special. I just need to check in and we can get going.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. Let's do it.
Hersey's Seafood has a fleet of 9 vessels which catch fresh seafood directly from the area's pristine waters. The family-owned and operated business is headed by Andrew Hersey, who is proudly continuing the family legacy. Andrew is the 3rd generation manager of the business, and locals know Hersey's as a place to go for the freshest and tastiest seafood in Tasmania.
Andrew, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Apparently you have some crayfish for us.
Absolutely, that is the truth.
Brilliant.
So can you tell me about Hersey's? Like, how did you guys get started?
Yeah, well, my grandfather started the business a little over 30 years ago. He wasn't always a fisherman, and he eventually got into diving for abalone and things like that. And then as the years progressed, began to do it more and more as a job, and then my uncle was unfortunately lost at sea, and my father and my grandfather were up in the east coast of Australia purchasing another boat, and when they got the call that his boat had capsized, it was always his kind of vision, my uncle's vision, to have like an onshore operation. The site here was purchased, and the rest is history type of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
So how do you catch a crayfish?
How do you catch a crayfish? We have a wooden basket with a steel base that we call cray pots.
Yep.
Some pieces of bait go into the cray pot. Crew will then throw it off the side of the boat, and that happens about 50 times. Usually they shoot 50 pots in a shot, and then the following day the boat comes along. The crew casts a hook out, brings the rope up into a pot hauler, which pulls the pot to the surface. Hopefully there's some lobsters inside.
Andrew, that was really interesting. We have a beef farm to get to, so we'd love to get a hold of some of your crayfish that you lovingly pull from the oceans every day.
Not a problem, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Lovely.
Andrew.
Mate, tell me a little bit about yourself. You've obviously been a Paralympian at Rio.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I've been running for about 10 years now, so just really started out loving running, and it really just grew from there.
Wow. Mate, Ben's had a chat to Robins Island Wagyu, and we're going to have a chat to Alex Hammond, one of the farmers there.
Well,
Hopefully we'll be able to tee up a nice steak.
that sounds amazing. I've certainly heard a lot about Robins Island and the Wagyu that they produce there, so I can't wait to go and have a chat with Alex. It should be really fun.
Incredible. G'day, Alex. How you going?
Alex.
Good to meet you.
Great to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having
us. Yeah. It's not a bad office you've got here.
Yeah, can't complain too much.
Yeah.
We're pretty lucky.
No, it's a ripper. So we're not on the main farm right now, though, are we?
No, we have 500 acres here on the mainland of Tassie, which is a bit of a holding area and such when we bring cattle off, and we use it as an embryo kind of production area. But the main office is out there on Robins Island.
Wowee. So how does it work? That's the story. You take the cattle from here and across to the island and back at low tide?
At low tide, yeah. So we have about 2,000 breeding cows on Robins Island, and most of the time we're bringing cattle off to then go and finish in the feedlot. But we also do cattle drives between Robins Island and Walker Island, which is a smaller island we own to the north. And usually in kind of April, May, we take about 800 head up the beach and through a kind of bit of a bay area and up to another island as well, and then muster them back. I was on a horse yesterday mustering a heap back actually, so we kind of do that as well as bringing cattle back across here.
So it's all done on horseback?
Yeah, all that sort of thing is. We get a few motorbikes in the mix to help us out occasionally, but you can't do it without the horses.
Yeah, so Wagyu beef, what makes this island so special that makes the beef so good?
So the Japanese cattle originate, or the Wagyu cattle originate from Japan, and the genetics play a huge part in what we do. And we've been quite lucky over the years to pick quite good size as a foundation of our herd, and then going forward we've got some really elite genetics. But we also did some testing in the early days on the softness of the fat, and so we've actually selected for the A allele of this specific test, and we over the years have got most of our cattle into this soft fat category, which you'd think all Wagyu is soft in fat, but this is even further, so it just melts in your mouth.
Alex, Ben has sent us on a bit of a mission to find some really nice Wagyu for our surf and turf dinner. Would you have some available?
Yeah, we do. We'll head out and grab it.
Thanks very much, Alex.
Just been getting ready for this recipe, and I've got fish sauce on my hands, and my hands now smell like fish sauce. Fish sauce is extremely important in a lot of Asian recipes. In particular this one, it gives that nice funky umami flavour to it. And fish sauce is as revered in parts of Southeast Asia as olive oil is in parts of Europe. So the first press or the virgin fish sauce is always the best. So it is something that is garnered and really searched for is good quality fish sauce, because it does add that real depth of flavour that you wouldn't normally get. So in this little container here, I've got my 3 sauces mixed together. So I've got fish sauce, soy sauce, and ketchup mayonnaise. And it is a balancing act a little bit. So I started with 2 tablespoons of ketchup mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of fish sauce. And then I add if I need to. Remember that intensity of flavour is going to be balanced out by all the other things that go into the dish. So I'm doing a chicken larb, which is basically a savoury mince with quinoa, with some quinoa mixed to it. So this is a really, really nice, healthy, fantastic dish. While I get started on chopping all of my ingredients, which I've got ginger, chilli and garlic, I'm going to dice up and start cooking off. We'll get that started, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to plug in my fry pan. The fry pan was plugged in all along and I didn't even notice it, so good work, crew. Right, so that is the base of so many fantastic Asian recipes, is chili, garlic and ginger, and then normally some shallot. I'm going to use fresh red onion at the end of the dish. A little bit of oil in my pan. Okay, so in we go with our garlic, our ginger, And our chili. I'm going to cook that not for very long, only for about 2 minutes until I can start to smell those flavours. Once I can smell those flavours, my chicken mince is going to go in. Really, really good quality chicken mince, and you can see that there's fat through the chicken mince. So that skin, the tasty part of the chicken has been minced and mixed through the mince itself. So we're going to get a really flavourful chicken mince from that. So as soon as I can smell those flavours, which I can now, that garlic, that chili and that ginger, my chicken mince can go in. So I've got about 600 grams of good quality chicken mince. I'm going to cook that chicken mince out now with those flavours that are in there. And as I said, a good, well-made chicken mince is really important. So we get all that flavour from the chicken. It's not just, so many times we think of chicken as just a way to carry flavour. So it's about all the other things that go in the dish apart from the chicken, and the chicken is just a protein source. This way you can actually get the flavour of the chicken through the dish itself, because it's got all of that chicken fat mixed in with the mince. So while that cooks away, and I just want to let it set now so that we get some caramelisation or some catching on that chicken. While that does that, I'm going to cut the rest of my ingredients. So my Spanish onion I want to slice really, really thinly. I'm going to cut it in half and slice it thinly. And my cucumber I'm just going to dice. So that, my chicken mince is cooked now, so I can add my sauce. Like I said, the base of my sauce I've got measured out, but then if I need to add things, I can. So we'll give that a stir. This is going to go in right at the end. So the thing I love about this dish is it's a combination of fresh and really savoury, which for me is like heaven. All right, that's all mixed in. A little bit of lime juice just to help balance things, and some palm sugar. About half a block of palm sugar. That palm sugar in, a squeeze of half of my lime, and then I'll check and taste and see how we're going. Stir. Oh, yum. It's so savoury. It's one of my favourite things to eat, and it is reasonably healthy. I mean, it's not reasonably healthy, it is definitely healthy. So we've got a cup of cooked quinoa. So this will help soak up all that sauce that's starting to develop on the bottom of the dish. I'll add the rest of my lime. I'll add in my red onion and my cucumber. And then I can turn that pan off, let the residual heat take care of the rest. I'm going to chop some fresh coriander to go through there as well. Roughly chop that. So that onion and the cucumber hasn't necessarily been cooked through, it's just been warmed and it stays nice and crunchy. So it gives us that great texture that you're looking for in dishes. Gonna taste. Oh. That is absolutely delicious. I'm gonna add a little bit more soy sauce, it just needs a little bit more seasoning. A little bit more soy sauce, stir it around. Then you wanna finish off with some bean sprouts and spring onions on top of your dish. And I guarantee you, this will be a dish that you make over and over and over again. If you want to make a lot of it, like we have, you can put it in containers, put it in the fridge, and it will do you for the next 2 days for lunch. If you've got friends coming over, if you're on a health kick, if you're trying to lose some weight, if you're just trying to stay healthy in some way, shape or form, this is a good one where you still get heaps of flavour, but you get a really healthy dish.